Yeah, welcome to point channel. So as part of Java 8 series, today I will discuss about method references. Yeah, let's learn the concept with some example. Yeah, so here if you see, I have one greeting interface. Here if you see, this is a greeting interface in which I have a single abstract greet user. So I'm expecting one input and I'm just returning a return type of string. Okay, so string, input of username and it has a return type of string. Okay. So now I would like to give a implementation to this interface, right? So here if you see, so first, I just want to show you how we used to give a implementation using a traditional anonymous inner class methodology. Okay, so here if you see new greeting, okay, so here, I have given my own implementation, see, I just accepted this particular input and internally I have my own implementation. So based on the timings, I'm just, greeting the user. Okay. So this is my implementation, right? So here, if you see, in order to invoke my implementation, obviously, I need to invoke that particular single abstract method, right? Here I'm just passing some input. Okay. I'm saying input as some anonymous. Okay. So what is this greet user in the sense? This is the greet user. Okay, now I am invoking this greet user by passing some value to this username. Okay, then what happens that username, that anonymous value. Okay, so will be passed to this particular username and accordingly this whole piece of code gets executed, right? So this is how we used to do prior to Java 8, right? So now in my previous video I have already explained in detail what is lambda expression, how we need to build the lambda expression, right? So now the same above anonymous inner class implementation can be replaced using the lambda expression, right? So yeah, so this is the input parameter and this is the piece of code. Okay, I just connected this input with this piece of code using this lambda expression, right? So now again the same thing. Now again, now also I'm just trying to invoke the same method, greet user method. So this time I'm passing input as lambda. Okay. So now let me run this. Okay, let me run this piece. Okay. So let me run this piece. So let's see what output we will get here. Okay. Yeah, so here if you see based on the timings, it is showing good evening anonymous and good evening lambda, right? So the overall what I'm trying to say here is, the same piece of code gets executed using anonymous inner class and as well as lambda methodology also, right? So okay, so now what I would like to do here, okay, if you see our lambda expression body has these many lines of code, right? So then why don't we move this piece of code to a one more separate method, right? So then happily we can invoke that method from the lambda expression body, right? So then then it looks good, right? Then the code will become very short, right? So let's do the same. Okay. Okay, so 1 second. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just highlighted this piece of code. I just shifted this piece of code to a separate method. Okay. So here if you see my whole code has been shifted to a new method. Okay, automatically my IntelliJ has given a name as get string. Okay, this name could be anything. You can give any name, print user, ABC, XYZ. You can give any name. Okay. So here, now our lambda expression started invoking this get string method, right? So here if you see get string method, okay, it is just passing the same username. Okay, now let me make it very short. Okay, I'm just removing this curly braces also. Okay, so I'm just adjusting in a single line. Okay, yeah. So yeah, even return keyword is also not required. I mean, that's what we have discussed earlier, right? So now see, using the lambda expression, now we have adjusted the whole piece of code into a single line. So I just shifted to a separate method. Now we have started invoking that particular method, right? So let me run this once again. So I just want to show you, still we are getting the same output. Yeah, see, we have got the same output, right? So yeah. So now uh, now we are about to discuss what is method reference. So now, so whatever the concept we have learned so far, so these will become a base for the next topic, method reference, right? So now, what Java 8 team has thought, so whenever we have these kind of scenarios, so scenarios in the sense, so, so what exactly you are doing, you are accepting some input, okay, and your main objective is, you are invoking some other third I mean, um, so you are invoking some other method, right? So that method could be in a same class, or that method could be exists in a some other class, but overall you are invoking some method, okay, and you are passing this particular input, whatever you are getting, okay, and you are simply passing that input to this that particular method which you are invoking. So then what Java 8 team has thought, okay, if your main objective of your Lambda expression is to invoke a new method, okay, then why don't you, why don't you replace this, even this entire Lambda expression with even in a much more simplified way, okay. So then from that thought only this method reference came into picture, okay. So then they just simply started replacing this entire piece using a method reference. Okay, let me show you how to replace. Okay, so let me copy this. Okay, if I highlight, okay, if I keep a cursor, immediately it will show a suggestion. Okay, why don't you replace to method reference? I'm just clicking here. Okay, see now, now we have got a method reference. So what exactly we are doing here? No, we are invoking that this get a string. So this is a static method, right? Obviously, we are invoking with a class name. So if you see these two semicolons, sorry, these two colons, not semicolons, these two colons are known as method reference. You know, as soon as you write that two colons between your class name and this method, that means you are simply referencing a method. So what does it mean? You are simply invoking a method in the sense you are simply referencing a method. Okay, now you are you may have one doubt. Okay, we are referencing a method. Okay, we have got a clarity, but where we are passing that input, where we are accepting that input, and where we are passing that accepted input to that method. Okay, so which we are doing in a previous step. So here if you see full clarity, we are accepting a input and happily we are passing that input to this get as string, get string also, right? But here we are not doing those two steps, right? We are neither we are accepting a input nor we are passing to that particular method, right? So now as soon as you connect, you invoke this particular method using this method reference, that is two colons, internally compiler is smart enough to understand, okay, there is a method reference symbol. So now now my job is to get that particular input parameter, and I'm supposed to pass that input parameter to this particular method. So compiler will do all these tasks internally automatically. So that's the beauty of method reference. You no need to pass any parameter, you need to simply refer a method name. That's, you no need to pass all the parameters in the parentheses, not required, just pass the only method. Okay, so I hope the concept of method reference is clear. Okay, so this is method reference, but I would like to add few more points here. Okay, so the main thumb rule of method reference is, okay, so the signature of the method whatever you are referring. Okay, so which method we are referring here? So get string, right? So let me go to get string. So this is the get string. So the signature of this method, whatever you are referring, this should exactly match, the method whatever you are implementing. So the main why we are doing all these things as part of giving a implementation to this single abstract method of, obviously this is a function interface, right? So now, this signature of this particular single abstract method, and the signature of this particular method, both should match, then only your method reference will work, otherwise it will immediately throw a compile time error. So now see here, we are passing a input parameter of type string. There is a one single input, and we are having a output, return type of string type, right? So here also if you see the same thing, right? String, everything same. So that's why method reference is working. Okay, let me prove that point once again. Okay. um, so okay, so for example, okay, let me remove this string. Okay, let's assume, let me remove this string. So as soon as you remove this string, okay, immediately what happens, of course here, you are getting compile time error. Okay, so let me give something like username, okay, equal to something I am giving, Raja. Okay. Okay, so now here there is no compile time error, but still why we are getting compile time error? Here if you see, as I said, okay, so if I keep a cursor here, okay, so what it is saying, okay, um, yeah, cannot resolve a method get string. So that's what it is saying. Why in the sense, the method which you are referring, okay, see the signature here, there are no input parameters, right? Just now I said the signature of this method should exactly match with this signature of this single abstract method, right? So here, you have an input parameter, but here you are not passing. So intentionally I just removed, I just want to show you, if signatures doesn't match, then what error you are going to get. That's why I just removed this. Okay, so this is the error which you will get. So immediately your method reference will not support. Okay, so so this is the main key thumb rule of method reference. Okay, let me undo this. Okay, yeah, so far we are good. So um, okay, so I mean there are four types of method references. Okay, one second. Yeah, so there are four types of method references. So let me show you. Um yeah, so this is a method reference symbol. Okay, basically there are four types. If you see, the first type is you can refer a static method. So that's what we have done till now. Okay, you can simply refer a static method using a class name, of course, using method reference. So this is a first way of writing a method reference. Okay, now the second way of writing a method reference is, you can refer a instance method. Okay, instance method. Obviously, you can refer a instance method using a object, right? I mean, instance type, right? So then this is a second type. So let me show you how we can do that. Yeah, so here, okay, till now we have gone through how we can refer a static method. So now we are about to see how we can refer a instance method. Okay. So here if you see the same method, okay, here also I have a same method. So this time, this is a instance method. This is not a static method. This is a instance method. Okay. So now, I have one more method, greet me. Okay. So here if you see, I have a main method. Okay. I just created an object for my class. Okay. So now if you see, see, I'm just trying to invoke this greet user method. Okay. I'm just passing this username. Okay, so here if you see obj.greetUser, okay, obj.greetUser, okay, so this is the username. Okay, so so here if you see, okay, okay, so what exactly I'm doing? So first I am showing how we can refer a instance method using a lambda expression. Okay, so this is a lambda expression. Okay, so here what we are doing, okay, nothing. I mean, this is a input. Okay, this is a input, and this is a lambda expression body. In the lambda expression body, also I'm I'm trying to invoke a instance method using a object reference. Okay, so here if you see obj dot greet user, right? So now obviously now I'm trying to invoke that greet user method by passing lambda, right? So okay, so you know this piece of code, this piece of code can be replaced using a method reference, right? So you can just correlate the concept which we have discussed so far, okay, the previous concept, that is referencing a static method. Okay, while referencing a static method, what we have done, we simply referred that particular method using a class name. Now we are simply referring that method using a object reference, that's it. I mean, that's the only difference. Everything is remaining, everything is same. Okay, here if you see object reference, method reference is there, two colons, and simply method is there. The remaining all other concepts are entirely same for the previously discussed concept, static method, using referencing a static method versus referencing a instance method. Okay, so you know yeah. So let me run this so that you will get a good understanding. Yeah, so here if you see, I mean, same thing, good night lambda, and good night method reference is there. Okay, so this is good night Rajendra. Okay, so so here if you see, okay, till now we have discussed it, right? Uh, okay, so now obj dot greet me is there. Okay, so so here if you see, okay, I'm just referencing a greet me method. Okay, as I said just some time before, okay, here there are no input parameters, right? So obviously the signature, signature is not matching with my actual signature. I mean, so this signature, right? No, so if you are, I mean, so then method reference will not support. I mean, then if it is the case, you can go with the lambda expression here. What I have done, okay, here if you see, I just I mean I just used a lambda expression. Okay, so the same thing if I try to invoke using a method reference, obviously it will show a compile time error. Okay, I already okay, here if you see, if I do obj colon colon greet me, obviously it will show a compile time error. The same thing I'm keep on stressing this point, signatures should match. Okay, so I just want to show you the compile time error. Okay, so let me comment this. Yeah, so far we are good. Okay, I just want to show you the one more example which comes under this category. Okay, so here if you see I have a one list. Okay, now I'm just trying to print all the elements of this particular list of integers, right? So I'm just iterating using a for each method of which expects a consumer. So this is the implementation to the consumer. So now as part of that implementation, see system.out.println. Okay, okay, let me say first, let me say I'm just passing the same input. Okay, obviously it will print 1 2 3 4 5 6. There is nothing special. Now you know you can correlate the same concept whatever we have discussed so far. I mean, referencing a instance method. So here if you see, okay, go to out. Okay, what is this out? Okay, this is a instance variable of print stream class, right? So now if you see, okay, what is this println method? Okay, println method is a instance method, okay, from this print stream class. Okay, so here you can see instance method of print stream class, right? So then why don't you apply the concept which you have learned so far to this example, right? So the same thing I have done. See system.out, okay, two colons, that is method reference, and println. Okay, so here I am not accepting any input, I am not passing any input. Okay, so this is the convention of method reference, right? So this one, yeah, so this is the convention of method reference. Okay, I mean the way how we invoked a instance method, the same concept is applied here. So um, in real time, whenever you are writing some SOP statement, you can follow this method referencing convention. Okay, so okay, so I would like to highlight one more point here. Let's assume you are passing something like t plus 10. Okay, let's assume. Okay, so now you cannot pass. this t plus 10 in the case of method reference, you are passing some t, but exactly in the method reference body, okay, in the method reference body, while invoking this println method, now what you are doing, you are manipulating that input by adding an integer of 10. That's what you have done in the case of lambda expression. So everything is possible in the case of lambda expression, but whereas in the case of method reference, okay, you cannot manipulate that input something like this. Okay, in the case of method reference, whatever the input you are passing, that is t you are passing, the same t will be passed to this println method. Okay, so let me run this example once again so that it would clear. Yeah, so here if you see, okay, in the case of lambda, okay, I just added this 10, so that's why you have got this output. In the case of method reference, okay, so you can see the same output you have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I hope the concept is clear. Okay, so let's see the third way of method reference. Okay, so here if you see, the third way is what it is saying. Okay, method reference to an instance method of arbitrary object of particular type. Okay, so in that case, containing type, okay, colon colon, this method name, right, instance method. So they're also instance method only. So let me show you how we can do that. Yeah, so yeah, so this is a third way. Okay, so here if you see, okay, I have a greeting method, right? So the same greeting method. Okay, of course, let me show you once again. So what I have greet user method. I am just passing one input. I am having an output, right? So this time, okay, if this time I would like to give you implementation in a different way. So how would like to give you implementation in the sense? See, I am passing input yes. Okay, some yes. Okay, this is the implementation. See my lambda expression body, what I am doing, okay, I am just trying to invoke a method, okay, from the same input type. So that means input type here is string. Okay, now this two uppercase is from the same string class, right? So now what I'm doing, happily s dot to uppercase. So now whenever you have a this type of scenarios, now as part of your lambda expression body, if you are trying to invoke a method from uh, from a input arguments type itself, okay, then the third way of method reference will come into picture. Okay, then what Java 8 team has thought, okay, if you are having these type of scenarios, okay, so you can simply replace that particular method with this particular line. So so this string, okay, string, this is a capital letter string, okay, colon colon, and this two uppercase. So no, so that's what we have said, right? If you correlate here in the yellowish shade, what I said, containing type, okay, this is the instance method. So what is the containing type? Containing type in the sense, the data type of the input argument. Our input argument is string, so that is obviously the same data type we are supposed to mention, right? So that's why here if you see, I just mentioned string. Okay, and after that, this is the instance method. Okay, so here, if your input argument could be integer or double, or could be employee, or could be customer, it could be anything. Okay, so whatever the input arguments data type, okay, as part of your lambda expression body, you are trying to invoke any one of the method of that particular data type, then you can follow this type of methodology. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so okay, so let me show you one more example. Okay, so here let's assume I'm having a list of integers. Okay, now I would like to do a sorting operation for that particular list. Okay, so here if you see, as part of sorting, okay, if you see the sort method, obviously we have comparator, right? Everyone knows comparator is a interface, okay, functional interface, which has a compare method, right? Which has a compare method which accepts a two input parameters, right? So obviously, if you try to implement this comparator using a lambda expression, so obviously this is the implementation. So so you are simply passing I1 comma I2. Okay, in the execution, I1 is of type integer, right? So obviously integer implements a comparable interface. So then comparable interface has a compare to method. So in the execution, what I'm doing, I1 dot compare to of, I'm just invoking this I2, right? So yeah, so then the same concept we can apply here also. Okay, so now what we can do here, uh, we can replace this particular statement using a method reference. Okay, so how we can replace in the sense, so something like this. So the same concept, here how many input arguments are there? Two. Okay, here you can have two arguments or three arguments, or it depends on your requirement. You don't need to bother how many arguments you have. You need to bother, what is the argument type. Okay, what is the argument type? Okay, so and the argument types could be different also. Like for example, the first argument could be integer and the second argument could be string. Okay, so even then you need to bother the first argument's data type. Here if you see, the first argument data type is integer, right? So then what you are doing here internally, that I1 dot compare to, right? So then happily you can say, this compare to is an instance method. Okay, compare to method is from which class? Integer class. So then integer colon colon compare to, something like that. Okay, so this is one example. Okay, so and after that, mm, yeah. So, I mean, the main key, very important concept, streams concept. Of course, we haven't discussed it till now, but try to understand, the basics of stream. Okay. So, whenever you have a stream of, stream of some strings. Okay. So, your stream method will return a stream interface. Okay, which has internally map method. So, map method expects a function interface. So, function interface internally has a apply as a single abstract method, right? So that particular apply method, okay, obviously, so you can write something like this. I mean, string colon length. Okay, first let me show you how you can write using using lambda expression. So see, my intention is I am taking each input and internally I am trying to invoke a length method on the same enclosing type. Okay, so if you are having this type of requirement, happily you can convert this type of lambda expression to the method reference whatever we discussed so far. So something like this. Okay, string colon length, something like this. Okay, and similarly one more example, I am having a list of employees. So employee is a customized class. Okay, customized poso in which I have some name is some attributes. Okay, here I'm just creating some list of employees. Okay, so here I have some list of employees. Here also what I'm doing in the map method, same thing, I'm just passing each employee argument and internally I'm invoking get name method. Okay, if you're having this type of requirement, you can scenarios, you can convert this lambda expression using a method reference. Here you can see, uh, here also you're doing the same thing, right? You're invoking a get name method of employee class itself. Then happily you can write the enclosing type as employee colon colon and this method name get name. So I hope the concepts are clear of, I mean clear, with this third way of method reference. Okay, let me run this. Yeah, so here you see, you have seen the same output, right? Rajendra, the lambda expression, everything you can see the same thing. Okay, so let me discuss about the fourth way of method reference. Okay, with this we can close this. Okay, so the fourth way of writing method reference here is, okay, here if you see method reference to a constructor. Okay, so here here how we need to write is the class name. Okay, class colon colon new. So this is the way of writing method reference. So let me show you the one example. Okay, okay, so here if you see, I have two interfaces. Okay, the first interface is this employee interface one, in which I have a create employee method. Okay, here there is no input parameters, whereas I'm just returning a employee. Okay, similarly I do have one more interface. Okay, so this time I'm having the same method create employee, but this time I'm expecting some input arguments. Okay, and I'm just returning a same employee here also. These two interfaces. Now if you're having this type of scenarios, okay, then first let's try to give you implementation using a lambda expression. So here if you see, uh, so let me highlight this. See, this is what we are doing, right? So in the lambda expression, obviously, see, there are no inputs. The first reference I'm talking about, there are no there is no input. So obviously nothing to pass here. Okay, so in the lambda expression body, obviously, I mean we need to return employee, right? So that's why I just I mean, I'm just invoking a constructor of new employee. So by, I mean, by that way, you can happily return a employee object, right? So now if you are having this type of scenario, you can replace this particular line using a method reference, something like this. So so your main intention is to create a new employee reference. So that's what you are trying to do right here, in the lambda expression. So why your return type is employee, right? So then happily you can replace using this something like this employee. Okay, that means class. Okay, so whatever the return type is employee, right? Employee colon colon new. Okay, something like this. So colon new in the sense, obviously. So then what happens? I mean, employee colon new in the sense immediately. So it will let, if you see the employee. Okay, if you see the employee. Okay, yeah. So here if you see, we are using this Lombok, right? We are having no argument constructor as well as all arguments constructor also. So right. So internally, what happens if you do something like this employee colon new, okay, then immediately it will go here, okay, and it will go to this interface and it will see this particular single abstract method, and it will immediately see, do we have any input parameters or not? Yes, we don't have. I mean, we don't have any input parameters. Then no, it will automatically choose a right compatible constructor. Obviously, a zero argument constructor is a compatible one, right, for this scenario. So it will choose that zero argument constructor, and accordingly it will create a employee object reference. Okay. So now let me show you one more example. Okay. Here, if you see the second case, in the second case, okay. So what is the second case? So in the second case, I mean the same create employee. So this time I'm expecting some input arguments, right? Obviously this time also I'm creating an employee reference only. So now, so let me show you how to create this using a lambda expression. So this is the, this is how we create using a lambda expression. Obviously you need to pass all input parameters. Lambda expression is there. Okay, in the body you are creating a new employee. Okay, so obviously you need to pass all these input parameters to the relevant constructor, right? So the same thing you can replace with employee colon colon new here also. Okay, so then compiler is smart enough to identify a right constructor as per its input parameters. So how it will identify? It will go here. Okay, it will go to this interface and it will try to identify this single abstract method, and immediately it will see, I mean, whether it has any input parameters or not. Yes, it has input parameters. That too, how many? 4. Okay, then it will go to employee class. Okay, then it will see, okay, yes, all argument constructor is there. Yes, this is the right constructor, and accordingly it will try to uh, execute that constructor, and by that way it will create a employee object reference. Okay, so yeah, so this is a this is a fourth way of creating a method reference. Okay, so let me run this. Yeah, see, we have got the okay, I mean, same Mahesh, and the next one is Rajendra. Okay, so yeah, just before winding up, okay, I just want to show you the main key points. You can pause the video and you can go through the main key important points. Okay, so this is a thumb rule. Okay, that's whatever I said, the signature should match. Okay, so these are the 4 types of method references, whatever we discussed so far. Okay, so this is a method reference notation, two colons. Whenever you add this method reference, internally compiler is smart enough to identify the input parameter, and it will automatically pass that input parameter to the reference method. Okay, so yeah, so this is a method reference to a static method. Okay, whenever you are referring a static method, in the case of lambda expression, happily you can replace that lambda expression using a class name colon colon that particular method. Okay, so now so the second type is a method reference to instance method. The same thing. Okay. Now in this case, instead of a class name, you are just invoking that particular method using your object reference obj colon colon that greet user. Okay. So the third way is this one, right? Method reference to your arbitrary instance method of a class. So that means, I mean, if you are having a lambda expression, so something like this here, you're passing a string. Okay, and in the body also you are invoking a method of that particular string. So s dot to uppercase. Okay, so then you can replace this particular lambda expression using something like this string colon colon to uppercase. Okay, so for example, if your lambda expression is having body is having so something like this, um, you are simply returning hi. Okay, so in that case you cannot replace using method reference of this particular type. Okay, So the main thumb rule here is your lambda expression should invoke a method of the same data type. So same data type of enclosing argument. I mean, so whatever the input argument you are passing here, input argument is yes, yes is of type string. So you are invoking to uppercase of even from string itself. So then only you can convert this lambda expression to method reference. Okay. So I hope the concept is clear. Okay. So the last one is method reference to a constructor. Okay, so whenever your single abstract method, basically having a written type of some custom poso, so then and your lambda expression is also creating using a new operator. Okay, then instead of writing this lambda expression something like this, lambda expression new employee something like this, you can happily replace that stuff using that written type of that written type, that here in this case is employee colon colon new. Okay, so yeah, so I mean the two key takeaways from this method references concept is how method reference is different from the lambda expression. I just mentioned the four important main points. Okay, so method reference is just a replacement of the lambda expression. So method reference is a much more simplified way of writing lambda expression. Okay, so method reference is using colon colon. Okay, and we only reference a method. We don't pass any input parameters. That's what we discussed, right? We only reference method. Okay, and this two colons automatically passes the input parameter, okay, to a reference method when you when you invoke a that single abstract method of the function interface, right? So these are the main key bullet points. Okay, so here if you see what is a key thumb rule of a method reference, obviously the signatures of a single abstract method of the function interface should exactly match with the method which you are referencing. So then only method reference will work, otherwise it will throw a compile time error. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this video. I hope I mean you enjoyed this video. Okay, if you really like my video, please like and share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.